What's up, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of the Brave podcast. I would like to mention that, to be honest with you guys, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. But a few weeks ago, I had an idea, and I'm like, you know what? I watch a lot of podcasts, and I like talking to people. So that's kind of why we're here. So my name is Angelo. A lot of you guys know me on YouTube as Exploring with Angelo or Angebona TV. I have a couple of different channels. Basically what it is that I do is normally I hunt ghosts, go on adventures, explore abandoned places, go to strange places, travel, vlog, that sort of thing. And I am also here with a very good friend of mine, Moshio.
Hi.
Hi.
This is very exciting. This is very different than what I'm used to, that's for sure. Okay, so I'm Moshio on Instagram and YouTube, and my real name's Mohammed. Everybody calls me Mo. If you're used to Angelo's content, I'm not the Mo that you may have expected to hear.
Definitely not.
So Moshio on YouTube and Instagram and all that, I typically do gaming stuff. I haven't in a long time. However, we are getting right back into it these days. So very exciting to be here. I thank you for allowing me the experience to be joining you on this podcast. It's such a cool thing. I never thought I'd be able to say that I'm on a podcast. But hey man, here we are. This is very cool.
Here we are indeed. So I've never done anything like this. I've only ever been on one podcast before, and it wasn't in person. I actually did it with my friend Freaktography. So that's literally the only experience I have. So
you did it over Zoom or something?
Yeah, it was some app that he had. I don't even remember what it was called. I asked him, I'm like, do you want to do it in person? He's like, no, I'll just click this link and plug in your webcam or whatever. And I plugged in my microphone, and that was pretty much it. I actually figured out how to do it on my phone, which I never knew I could somehow use my phone as a webcam, which it worked out at the time. But I do prefer the kind of in-person setup. So this is basically the very first one. So it's just going to be us two for tonight. We're doing basically like a trial run. Just kind of trying to, figure out things, get used to the format. But we do have several other microphones. Right now we have the wide angle lens so you guys can see the whole room. When we do have 4 guests, then obviously, we'll have 4 different angles and all that fun stuff. So, it's been a couple weeks of putting this whole shebang together. It's been grueling, very time consuming.
Some of us wallpapered the entire room.
Yes. So this wallpaper behind me is in fact wallpaper.
Oh, was I not supposed to? Did I let the cat out of the bag?
You told everybody right on the first episode.
Less than 5 minutes in. This is not a real wall.
Right? This is not a real wall at all. But so we filled up the whole space. I think it looks pretty good so far. We got a ginormous TV where we can literally see ourselves at the moment using our recording software. And we got lots of other fun stuff in here. Like we got a cactus coaster, right? I just thought it was amazing, so I bought that. But so in case you're wondering, I guess a little bit about us, how we met. How did we meet, Mo?
How did we meet? Okay, so this takes me back a few years. I couldn't remember the actual years. It must be somewhere around 2008, I think, something along those lines.
Was it?
Something, I mean, it's 08 or 09 or something like that.
Yeah.
I was working, and if you're not from Canada, you won't know. Maybe you won't know, but there's a store here, a general store, very popular, called Canadian Tire. So this store, I was working in the automotive parts department, and one day, I'm sick. We delayed recording this first episode for a few days because I got very sick on the weekend. So if you hear me cough, I apologize.
He's a bit nasally, but we'll let it slide for tonight's episode.
This is not my normal voice. Please do not cancel me for a horrible voice. So I was working in the parts department, and every month, 2 months, routinely we would have new people starting. And one day, this gentleman across the table from me started working in parts with me, and I trained him and we worked together, and I don't think it was for very long, maybe month, 2 months, 3 months kind of thing.
Something like that. Yeah. I remember. So it's kind of funny because I don't even remember why they hired me, to be honest, because I didn't really know very much at the time, like about automotive stuff, cars, things like that. Obviously, you knew a lot more than I did, but I'll be honest, I didn't know shit. Like it was a huge learning curve coming in there. But yeah, I remember it was the very first day. My very first shift that I started there, you were there, and I'm like, hi, I'm Angelo. I think it was like 15 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So was it 2008? 2008? It might have actually been earlier. It might have
Somewhere
actually
between
been
06 and
yeah,
08, I guess.
yeah. It might have been actually earlier than that.
So it must have been 06-ish in that case.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember starting, and then you guys would always try and play tricks on me and be like, go and find the muffler bearings or the whatever you guys could come up with. That obviously muffler bearings don't even exist. It's not a real thing.
Well,
but
listen, it wasn't obvious to everybody.
No,
so that's
no.
why I got him.
But yeah, I remember it was multiples of you. But yeah, that place kind of sucked. But it was it worked out because we met, right?
Yeah.
We became friends. So
And so to continue from that, you didn't last very long. You knew that place sucked, and you dipped. I don't know if you remember anything about that experience.
yeah, I'm trying to remember what I did after that. So when I was young, I did all sorts of jobs. Like I've kind of been working since I was like 6 years old. Like that's what I tell people anyways. So, I mean, what I used to do when I was younger, so when my family first came to Canada, basically almost everybody in my family started out at this jewelry company. The jewelry company no longer exists. I think my mom and my great aunt were the very last two people of my family that worked there. It's crazy because my family essentially worked there from when the company started to when it essentially ended. And yeah, so basically what they used to do was jewelry, and they would take jewelry home, and we would be sitting at the kitchen table because I lived with my grandparents since I was very young. And basically, so we'd all be sitting at the kitchen table, and we'd be like putting stuff on cards. Like you'd put earrings and necklaces and all sorts of stuff. And when I was like 6 or 7, I remember sitting there at the kitchen table helping them, and my mom would give me like a bit of an allowance at the end of the week to help them out.
Nice.
Right? Like $5-10. But back then, $5 to $10 when you're like, 7, 8 years old was a lot of money.
Oh,
you could buy a lot of 5-cent candies with $5, right? So it was a good time. But yeah, so after Canadian Tire, I think I might have gone to Sears.
Oh, I remember you said
Maybe.
something like that. Yeah.
I
In
think
the warehouse at the store or something.
yeah,
something like
it was considered logistics. So it was basically moving packages. So we'd basically like offload the truck. So the truck would come from the warehouse to the store. We'd take everything off of the truck and put them on these little flatbed things. And then at the end of the night, we'd have to take them to each of their individual departments. And that job also sucked. They just treated us really poorly. Like every job I've ever had kind of sucked. But
yeah. So we had connected somehow. I remember you were young, and I was driving you home on my way home after every shift. So at some point we became friends on an old chat, what do you call it, chat program, I guess at the time. So if you ever had a Hotmail address back in that time, you had a program called MSN Messenger, and that was how we stayed connected. Because, at that time, I don't know, but I don't think many of us had cell phones at that time.
I think at the time, the reason why was because text messaging wasn't unlimited.
Oh, right.
Right? So most people would maybe try to avoid sending text messages because you didn't want to hit your 250 text limit. Yeah. No, it was free after 6 or 7 or whatever on Friday into Sunday, and then the second it hit like 12 o'clock, it would roll into Monday, and it's no longer free. Yeah. So everybody back then used to use MSN Messenger.
Yes.
And you probably remember I would pause a song for 1 month.
Okay, so this is what it was. So yeah, you would have it was a program. You would add your friends by their email addresses, and you would see there at the time, just kind of like before Facebook, they had statuses. So you could put like a funny saying or whatever you wanted to put in your status. And I would always see in this gentleman's status, he's playing this one specific song. If you know the band, it's called Protest the Hero, and the song was called oh my god,
Blindfolds Aside.
And I was like,
was their best song.
Over. So, but this was over maybe, I don't know, a month, 2 months. I'm like, damn, this guy really likes this song. After I realized, I didn't know, you told me that, oh, you know, it's my Windows Media Player, which was a program you would use on your computer to listen to music or watch videos. My Windows Media Player was just paused on that song for so long, and I had never.
That was like a constant thing that I would do too. It was just always on one specific song for literally like 30 days, 40 days, whatever. I don't even know.
I was thinking, man, this song must be really good. I started listening to it. I was like, this song is amazing.
It's fantastic.
Oh,
I think we went to go. How many times did we go see Protest the Hero?
So what I was going to lead into was that because of you watching this or listening to this all the time, or really not, and just thinking that, I started listening to it. I started listening to all the music. I loved all the music. And then at some point I would talk to you about that and other music and stuff. So yeah, we had seen, and I was, for maybe the last 10 years, I've been kind of an addict for going to see local shows in Toronto. We went to see Protest the Hero easily more than 5 times, 10 times, I don't know, something along those lines, among other bands too.
Yeah, I remember that. We were like the concert thrill seekers, I guess. That was literally almost every like other weekend we were going to see a show.
It felt like it,
yeah. Whether it was Protest, we've seen Slipknot a few times. And it's funny too, because when I met you, you weren't even into music like that at all.
I was I started more like when I was young. I started listening to, like, if you know them, the Backstreet Boys, of course, and the Hanson. Well, I was very like a popular play on my CD Walkman, my Discman. I was listening to that kind of stuff, and eventually it got into more kind of like pop punk stuff. So my absolute favorite band of all time is Blink-182. From there, at some point, my music taste evolved, and I became a lot more into the heavy stuff. So I didn't like, you mentioned Slipknot. I didn't like Slipknot until you told me you have to listen to this album, which is Volume 3.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It was different.
It took a while for me to get into it, because I liked one song, which was... I don't remember which one it was. It was one of the songs from Iowa, and
probably Left Behind.
No, the one from it's a song that played in the Resident Evil movie, and I can't remember what it is now, but it's an amazing song. Anyway, you told me to listen to that album, and since I got into that album because of you, I started loving the band. So I love almost every release that they've made, and thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're most welcome. No regrets, right? No regrets. But yeah, so so we connected with music, I'd say, was the first thing. And then I don't know, I was always into cars, I just didn't know much about them, and then we kind of connected in that way too. And then I think after I left Canadian Tire, we didn't really talk much after that. Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get a message on MSN Messenger, and of course it's Moshi, and he's like, I don't even remember what you said, but
hey man, do you keep your options open?
Do you keep your options? So we'll explain. There's a little bit of context to what it is that we're talking about. So basically, he's like, hey, what are you doing now? I think I had started my own company. I think I had quit Sears at that point.
Can I say the name? I remember the name.
Do you?
And Computers.
Yeah, that's it. And Computers. It was such an original name. It worked.
It was very smart.
So yeah, at that point, I had gotten into fixing computers, building computers, restoring computers, and what else was I doing? I was starting to get into like online retail. Like I was starting to figure out how to buy things in wholesale and sell things online on eBay, and that was essentially, my bread and butter at 16 years old. No, actually, 16 up until like 18. Then I turned 18 years old, and then I get a message on MSN Messenger from Mo. And do you want to explain what you were doing at the time?
Yeah, I guess so. I had, what was I doing outside of that at the time? I guess I was just working at Canadian Tire.
Working at Canadian Tire, yeah.
I think that's all it was. And I was also, I was working 3 jobs at the time. I was working at the Canadian Tire store, a separate entity, the Canadian Tire Distribution Center, which is a different building and business altogether. And then there was something else. I was doing 3 things at the time. So my days were packed. And a friend of mine came to me and he's like, you're doing so much. If you remember, Alex, you were doing so much, but where's it leading? What's next after this? And he's like, I have a friend who started his own business, and he has invited me to be in it. And I don't know, I don't remember exactly how it went at the time, but this is a great opportunity. I could bring you in, and we could go from there. See, just come one night, come this Wednesday night, check it out, and see if you like it. You know, there's no obligation. I said, okay, let's do that. Good. And then he's like, oh yeah, just wear a dress shirt and long pants. And I said, what? Long pants,
right? So yeah, I think you had gotten started. It's basically a company called Primerica. So they basically deal with you know, finances, essentially, like personal finances. So you're talking like things like life insurance and investments and retirement and
getting out of debt.
Yeah, helping people with their mortgages and things like that. They actually sell a lot of great products. So basically, Mo had gotten started in that. Were you already licensed at the time?
No.
Okay, so
that was it would have been a little while.
Yeah. So you met Alex because he worked at the warehouse, right?
Oh yes, that's right. My friend Alex, he was working at the Canadian Tire warehouse with me. And that's how we met, and that's where he was like, "Hey man, if you want to do something else, I'm working on something else."
Yeah, why not? Right? Try something different.
Absolutely. So, I kept my options open, which was a very popular line that you would say.
Yeah.
Hey man, do you keep your options open?
Do you keep your options open? Yeah. So, yeah, Primerica is basically like one of those. What would you describe it as? Like a network marketing kind of company. It's not even really multi-level marketing. Because multi-level marketing, like it's like you make basically like pennies off of everyone else. But yeah, network marketing, it's like their bread and butter is doing personal finance. That's how the company actually started itself. And then there's also like a recruiting side to it where you can build your own company within the company, essentially. So that's what Mo had gotten started in. And then he messaged me on MSN and he's like, yeah, I started my own business. I'm like, whoa, that sounds really cool. I started my own business too. What are you doing? Right? So he invited me to meet up with him and his friend Alex, who I had never met before. And I remember we met at a bakery that I go to pretty often. And you guys were basically like, I just remember Alex drawing a bunch of stuff on a piece of paper. And it was, do you remember that? It was the 6 ways you get paid.
Oh.
And it's just like, yeah, you can make this money and you can do that. And if you sell this, you make this and you can get this bonus and that bonus. And I'm like, money, business, okay, sounds good, I guess. Whatever. And it's funny because when you guys had met up with me, I think I was like 2 days away. Was it 2 days before my birthday or like 2 days after?
Yeah, very close.
It was like close. So close. And you have to be
to 18. Your 18th birthday.
Yeah, you have to be 18 years old to join the company because, I mean, you're dealing with people's personal finance, so you have to legally be an adult. And so you guys kind of got lucky that I was just on the cusp that I was able to do it. I mean, I guess I was lucky too in that sense. But so then you guys, I basically signed what you would call the IBA, the Independent Business Application. I agreed to it, paid the $100 fee or whatever it was, and which was a great investment, by the way. And then from there, I came to the office, then I met Daniel, and from there, we both eventually got licensed. I think you got licensed before me, because like I said, it's a finance thing, so you have to be provincially licensed. For those of you who don't know what a province is, it's like a state. But yeah, so you have to be provincially licensed, and then from there, basically we just ended up spending almost every day for like 2.5, no, longer probably.
Yeah,
like
I feel like
3-4 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was like nonstop. We were basically always together, always working on building up our book of business in general, whatever, trying to recruit new people. Yeah. So, and then what happened after that? I don't even remember anymore.
I don't know.
So many things.
I guess.
I think I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we started the sporting goods company. And it was only supposed to be like a part-time thing. And that's what the funniest part of the whole thing was. I had this idea. I'm like, yo, let's just buy some jerseys. And then, because I think the Euro Cup in 2012 was coming up. And I'm like, yeah, let's just make a couple extra bucks. We'll buy some jerseys wholesale. And then we'll just find people to sell them to, whether it's on Kijiji or
Right.
eBay, or we'll just go on a street corner and sell that along with ourselves, whatever it takes, right? To make a
Yes.
few extra bucks. We could all use the money at the end of the day. So we started that, and it started doing pretty well. And then eventually it kind of became like a full-time thing. And then from there, that transitioned into basically its own store. And it's funny because I took this Stella out of the fridge like half an hour ago and forgot to open it. But yeah, so from there it transitioned into like more or less a full-time business. I was still doing it from home. Mo was kind of helping me as he could.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I got a location with 3 other people, and it was like the dingiest fucking place ever. It was, how would you describe it? It was totally industrial. So it was like there was all these other shops, machine shops, metal shops.
Yeah, no stores, not really.
Yeah.
It was literally industrial.
Yeah.
People would go there to fix their cars or to get stuff for plumbing or construction, and there you were sitting there with 3 other guys in one shop with like 5 or 6 cars in the back of the shop, and you had the front of it filled with sports jerseys.
Yeah.
It was funny.
So from there, I kind of expanded from sports jerseys. It ended up going into hockey equipment because at some point, I don't even know why I thought of it, but I'm like, damn, hockey equipment is so expensive, like ridiculously expensive. So I'm like, there's a business opportunity here. People need hockey equipment. And if we can buy, and I was looking at what the prices are, and it's like a 35% markup. So whatever you're buying a hockey stick at the store retail, the retailer is probably paying 35% less than that. So that's the exact markup. So I'm like, okay, well, there's something we can work with there, right? So maybe if I buy it and I can flip it for like a 20% margin, at least somebody's saving 15%, whatever. That's a bonus for people, especially when you got a lot of kids playing hockey. It's very, very expensive. So yeah, we ended up expanding into that and a couple other things. And then from that store, we ended up moving into an actual like retail location. And I think we weren't there very long, which was kind of annoying. Do you remember that?
A couple months.
Yeah.
Three, maybe 3.
Yeah. Maybe
We had another guy with us, Steve.
Yeah. He was a good guy.
He was full time with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had what happened? I had been through some jobs at that point. I lost my job at some point, and you were like, "Hey, man, we can do this, and we can definitely support you coming on full time." And I did that, and we were there I was there for maybe a total of like 4 or 5 months, including being at the new standalone location for maybe 2 or 3 months, and then they came to us.
Yeah, they came after us. So it was a shitty situation. We had a good thing going. It was working pretty good. We busted our butts to set up the whole store. Just painting that place alone took like almost, I don't know, 2-3 weeks or whatever, and then putting up all the fixtures and figuring out where everything's supposed to go.
It was actually pretty beautiful inside. It was nice. Like and what we had taken over, it was some type of, like, I think it was like an Indian clothing store, right?
So the last thing that it was just before that was actually a local politician. It was a Brampton politician. I think his name was John Sprovieri. He's a really shitty politician. He's just a piece of junk. But we won't even get into that right now. But
before him, that's what it was.
It might have been. I have no idea. It was definitely a clothing store, because you could tell the way like the setup was. It must have been a clothing store.
Yeah, it was kind of perfect because we had change rooms in the back, and in the front there was areas for you to like. It kind of reminds me of like a tailor, because you would step up on that platform and there's mirrors all around you, which kind of reminds me of like a tailor. Anyway, I was set up perfectly for clothing, or in our case, sports equipment. So for sizing out hockey sticks or hockey pads, equipment, all that stuff. So it was really nice. We spent a lot of time doing it up really nice. Bought all new shelving and all of the stock, all of the equipment, all the stuff. Oh man,
a lot went into that.
And then the supplier was like, you know what, you guys.
So I'll explain a little bit more detail as to what happened. So the 2 main hockey suppliers in Canada and the United States would be Bauer Hockey, and these guys are like, like Darth Vader, basically.
No, they're the best. What do you mean?
The best, the absolute best. I mean, CCM wasn't so bad, but Bauer Hockey, these guys were bad. They're bad dudes. I don't like them after what they did to us.
Yeah.
So basically, what we had to do was, as a small retailer, we had to go through distributors. So there was 3 main ones in Canada at one point. One of them had closed down before we had moved into there, which was whatever, I guess. So there was 2 left over, one in Quebec and one in London, Ontario. And all of a sudden, I get an email from, I think it was the one in Quebec first, that was like, Bauer just called us and they asked us to close your account. No reason why. That's just what they said, so they had no choice but to do it. And then all of a sudden, I think I was on the way there. I was driving in. I'm like, what is this? What's going on here? I had an idea of what was going on. It was because we were undercutting, obviously, but I mean, it's business, right? Nobody gave us any of like the set guidelines as to what to do, what not to do, right?
There's no contract saying you got to sell this at this price, and you can't go below this or anything like that.
There was no contract. Like it was just ridiculous. But yeah, so that happened, and then moments later, I think either just before I got to the store or maybe just before, I don't even remember anymore, but the other distributor sends me an email and basically said the same thing. And I'm calling around and they're like, honestly, we don't know. We have no idea what happened, but whatever, it is what it is. So at that point, we're like, well, there goes Bauer. And then, we were basically, they were supposed to come and see us. And do you remember they were just giving us the runaround? Like he wouldn't answer his phone, like the regional representative or whatever. That guy was just a dick. But it is what it is. I don't remember what's his name? Benoit. I think his name was Benoit.
That's right.
I'm like, a name like Benoit, like that guy's a jerk, man. Like he's just, I don't know. He kept ignoring me. He wouldn't give me straight answers. He never showed up at the store.
That's
when
what the
he
problem
was supposed to.
He never, like, he would say a lot on the phone. He would, I'll come by. We'll figure this out. I'll help you guys. No, and then we never hear from him. The thing when he was doing that was pissing me off the most was that he wouldn't even call in advance to say, hey, I can't make it today. He would just not show up. And then like 2 or 3 days later, you'd hear back from him. So we're all sitting there like, okay, now what do we do? Like we can't even get the product that people need right now to keep us in business. And then I just made the decision. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I don't want to deal with this corporate bureaucratic BS is just, it was just too much. So I'm like, I know we put a lot of time and effort into this place, but let's just get the hell out of here and figure out what to do after this. We'll figure something out. So I was sitting there and hearing it, and I was like, wow, I've got a wedding coming up in 6 months.
Yep.
It's something.
Yeah, man, they gave us the absolute shaft, that's for sure. But yeah, and then after that, I was kind of weighing my options and saying like, could have done. There was other lines of business that I probably could have survived on, but I'm just like, screw it. It's not worth my time. But yeah, and then after that, there wasn't much going on. I had already started.
What you were doing, exactly. That's what I was just about to say. What you were doing at the store is that with all the hockey equipment and everything, you had the good idea to make YouTube videos about the equipment, about the fitting and all that stuff. Yeah. And I believe you continued on with that, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm actually new. We have like the switcher thing, and I'm new to this, and I'm not used to switching the cameras. So sometimes if I forget and Mo's talking, I gotta get used to that. But yeah, at the time, basically, so you guys probably know my main channel on YouTube is Exploring with Angelo. Subtle plug there.
Just crossed over 100,000 subscribers, by the way.
It's actually 107,000 now. But yeah, we even have the new plaque is like right there. But yeah, so at the time it wasn't Exploring with Angelo. I had 2 channels. So I had Ange Mona TV, which I had already started doing all the, I don't even remember what I was doing. I was making like documentaries, vlogs.
That was my first time on YouTube.
Right.
That was, you had me on to do. Right. It was like a 5-part series on
conspiracy theories.
Yeah, Kurt Cobain's death.
Yeah, it was celebrities who faked their own deaths.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And they were really good. I thought they were pretty well done. They were funny,
Certainly
it was
fun.
quirky. It was just such a fun discussion.
Are they still on your channel?
They are, yeah.
Okay, so you guys got to go find on the Angelo TV channel. You got to go find the first first showing of Moshi
Yeah. The funniest part about it is that at the time, conspiracy theories were just too much for YouTube. So they were starting to demonetize a lot of conspiracy theories. A lot of people blame Shane Dawson because at the time, do you remember we were watching his videos in the store and they were so good? Yeah, like mind-blowing conspiracy theories and it was like so simple too. It was like Chuck E. Cheese on how they were recycling pizzas, which obviously is probably not true, but it was an interesting conspiracy theory. So I was always into conspiracy theories, probably ever since you met me. You might remember that, and yeah, I'm just like, oh, this is such like a quirky idea. Celebrities who fake their own deaths, right? And I think we had Kurt Cobain was one, Elvis Presley, which is probably the most plausible one, Michael Jackson. Who are the other ones?
Biggie?
Was it Biggie? No, it was Tupac. Tupac. And then Marilyn Monroe. I think
I
was
feel
the
like
other
it was
one.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, I think so too.
I have to go dig up your old videos now and see it now.
Yeah. So those were funny. We had no idea what the hell we were doing, but it was fun. We put something together and it worked. But yeah, I was doing like other documentary stuff. But yeah, the main channel, Exploring with Angelo, was known as the Sporting Goods Company. If you guys look at the actual URL of the channel, the original, I don't know if the original one shows up. It might just be youtube.com/@Exploring with Angelo. I have no idea. But for a long time, I remember people would be like, why is it say Sports 00 or whatever, right? And I'm like, because this channel originally was for my company. The company didn't exist anymore. So I'm like, well, it's already over 1,000 subs. It's monetized. So, and I wanted a kind of a way to, because at that time I had just gotten into exploring the abandoned places, and then, you know, starting to do ghost hunting and stuff like that, which Mo actually came on one of my very first ghost hunts.
Kirby Road.
Kirby Road.
I remember that. Kirby Road that night. You said we were going to go out. Up in, you know, it's not really woods, but it's not. What was it? It was kind of off.
It's a road.
Yeah,
it's
a road, but it's kind of like in the farmland area because it's not, you know, there was very few lights and all that.
Nothing there.
Yeah. So we'll go together in your car. We're driving up there, and I'm just like, cool. Yeah, it's getting pretty creepy. And you're like, okay, I'm going out. I said, what?
I remember that. The look on your face, you were literally like shitting your pants. You're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm gonna walk up the road. So basically what it was there was a girl who had passed away there years before. I think she had gotten into a car accident or something, and she passed away. And there was like this memorial kind of like tombstone thing. And that's what we were looking for. That's what I was looking for anyways. Yeah. And I had found the tombstone, like I could see it clearly on Google Maps. Like if you go into like the first person thing and you're just like following up the road, you can see it in Google Maps. So I had it marked, the exact point on Google Maps. And we passed it somehow like 3 times. And I'm like, where is this thing? And couldn't find it. Hence the reason why I wanted to get out of the car and obviously walk up the road in the middle of the night. And I didn't even have good camera equipment at that time. I didn't have good lighting. It was hard to see. I didn't even have a flashlight on me. Was not prepared for this at all. And it was just gone. The whole memorial thing was just gone. And apparently there was a car who had stopped on the side of the road and they were like, hey, are you a YouTuber? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. And they're like, oh, what's your channel? I tell them the channel. I think I might have had like 230 subscribers. And this was on Angelo and TV at the time. And they're like, oh, wow, you got a lot of subscribers. I'm like, I do? I didn't know that was a lot of subscribers, but okay, whatever. And then they ended up telling me that apparently the memorial was gone because some jerk decided he was going to kick it over and disrespect it. Oh. But yeah, it was pretty shitty. But yeah, I mean, that was Kirby Road. And
I was sitting in the car watching you walk away, I think you had the light on your camera. And I was like, he's getting farther. He's getting farther. Oh no, I am alone.
I remember. And then you started
I recorded
You
myself
started
with my cell
recording
phone.
yourself, yeah. And then you sent me all the clips after. I'm like, I had no idea any of this had even happened. That he was like actually that scared.
And
right?
then didn't I hear some sound? And I was like,
I don't know, maybe.
what is this?
Yeah,
You know?
I don't know. And then I remember the cars started blowing cold air out of nowhere.
Oh,
Remember, because it was
yeah.
kind of like winter time.
And that was that was the Subaru.
Yeah. And then I found out later on that the Subaru was actually broken, had a head gasket problem, hence the reason
I did
why.
think it was a ghost. I thought it was like, okay,
I mean, dude,
it's
it
getting
seemed
cold.
logical.
The engine was running the
Yeah.
entire time. Why is this blowing cold at me?
Yeah, and
This guy just disappeared. I don't see his light anymore. It's dark out here.
Oh my God.
Why am I here right now?
So I think the only reason we thought that was because there was a lot of people who would claim to have car trouble. Their radios would start playing on their own or turn on, off, whatever. The radio station would randomly change on their own. And I think that was the reason why we kind of thought that was a logical reason as to why we were getting the cold air. But obviously we know now that it wasn't. But yeah, then after that, I basically started doing all the abandoned, and so it really started out as just strictly abandoned. I didn't really do haunted stuff. I think it was because I didn't have anybody who would do it with me. There was a period of time when there was one guy, oh man, I think his name was Jesse. I think he went by Exploring with Blocks or something like that. I think because his last name was Bloxam. So he went by Exploring with Blocks. And he came out a few times, and then he's like, yeah, we should go out like every weekend, go to more abandoned places, find more haunted places, make more videos, stuff like that. And it was fun. It was a cool experience. We went to Century Manor, which was it's the haunted asylum in Hamilton. Super sketchy, scary place. Yeah, we did the Ouija board there and just had a crazy experience. And then for a while, this dude just disappeared. So I didn't have anybody really who would come along to explore with me or go to any of these haunted places.
I'm sorry, I just too scared.
Too scared.
Not too into this ghost stuff. I don't think you'll see me in another one of the Exploring with Angelo videos unless it's during the day.
Oh my God. But yeah, so that guy kind of disappeared. So I just kind of started doing abandoned places with like whoever would come at the time, right? And then what happened? So I kept doing it. I started kind of expanding on the haunted places, but it was mainly abandoned, and I was doing it a lot with my friend James at the time because that's what he liked to do. Love James, funny guy, drinks way too much when he's exploring, and it's like, but this dude, it's like, you know those people when they start drinking, they just all sense of fear just completely leaves their body.
Oh, like a bull,
right? Like this dude, I remember one time he's like, probably shouldn't even say this, but it's a really funny story. So I remember there's one time we went on
getting these kinds of stories on the Brave podcast.
Feeling kind of brave, that Stella's starting to hit. But yeah, so I remember we went to, I don't even remember where it was. I probably shouldn't say where it was, but he's like, yeah, there's this abandoned church. We were just starting out our road trip. We were heading out to Quebec City, and we stopped about 2 hours west of Ottawa, I think. And he's like, yeah, I got this abandoned church. Let's go check it out. And we get to this church. We're like, oh, it doesn't look that abandoned. And I'm pretty sure all the lights were on, like on the exterior part of the building. And he's like, no, it's abandoned. For sure, it's abandoned. So we're like walking around, but all the windows were covered, so we couldn't see inside. So we get around to the back of the building, and obviously at that point we had not found any main level door or window. He was already like, I don't know, 3-4 PBRs deep. Perhaps Blue Ribbon. It's a brand of beer. Yeah, okay. In case you didn't know. But yeah, so he's probably about 3-4 PBRs deep, and he's like, I bet you one of those windows up there are probably open on the roof. Right? This guy climbs, I think it was like the gas meter or something, literally climbed up onto the roof. And he's like checking all the windows, nothing. And then he has to climb up onto another roof. He's checking all those windows. And I'm like scared of heights. I never would have done that. Like, screw that. But he finally finds one. And then I think at that point, I don't remember if he ended up coming down to like open a door. But I think we might have ended up climbing up to join him. And we get in there. There's like shoes like in the hallway, like neatly
Oh,
tucked
no.
away. Everything is spotless. Like there's not a speck of dust or dirt or anything like that. There's like clothes like neatly hung up. Everything seemed a little not so abandoned at that point. The lights were obviously all on. We get into this one room. There's like 2 pianos and there's a bunch of like tables and chairs that are all set up. And I'm like, bro, this is not abandoned. We're not supposed to be in here right now.
No.
So we're like running down the hall. We're like, let's get the hell out of here. He's like, screw it. Let's just go through the front door. So we ended up just leaving out the front door. We're like, hopefully somebody comes back to close it. But yeah, that was an interesting experience. So yeah, I used to do a lot of exploring with James at first. And then eventually I met some other people and we started doing some more haunted stuff, which is what I was really more interested in than just doing the abandoned. Like abandoned is fun. There's a lot of history and cool stuff to look at, but it gets kind of dry at some points, right?
Sure.
It's like, oh, here's another random chair in a room.
Yep.
Oh, here's another room. This one's got one bed, right? And it's like, okay, like the stories are great, but there's no like substance. So I like really wanted to do more of the haunted stuff, and then that's when I started meeting a lot more people that were actually interested in doing that, and and then it just kind of kept growing and growing. And I think the very first time that my channel kind of experienced a very big positive uptick was after Japan. After I did the forest, right? You probably remember that. So we did a crazy trip to Japan, which was incredible and crazy all at the exact same time, because we left, I think it was 2 days before we went into
the day.
Do you remember it?
I remember the day.
What day was it?
So we were planning to go on this trip for months and months and months because one of our best friends...
Years. We had planned it over 2 to 3 years.
So our friend was getting married out in Japan. He was marrying a Japanese girl, and that's Andrew and Rika. Thank you guys very much for inviting us out to your wedding a few years ago now. So we knew it was in the plans for months. We had booked Airbnbs and all that stuff, and this was around, I don't know, something like the summer of 2019-ish.
When we were planning it, right? Yeah.
And then we were coming up to the wedding was March 20th, 2020. And we were getting on the plane March 17th from Canada.
No, it might have been earlier.
16th.
I feel like it was earlier.
It was either the 16th or 17th. And it was the 17th. And we were sitting in the... Okay, so what had happened in I guess it started in January or February now.
Yeah.
February, they started talking about this thing called... coronavirus for the first time.
And that's what they were referring it to. At first, it wasn't even COVID-19. That kind of came afterwards.
Yes.
They just kept talking about this coronavirus, and they were showing these videos, which had turned out a lot of them were fake. They were coming out of China. Do you remember seeing those videos they were like CCTV footage, and people were literally standing on the sidewalk, just randomly would fall over, collapse.
Oh man.
As it turned out, a lot of those were faked, which was obvious because that didn't happen here.
Yeah.
We didn't see anybody, and it was already here, right? We found that out later. So yeah, we're basically getting ready to go to Japan, and it worked out better for me. So what would happen at the time, so I was working for Mo, and I was living in Ottawa. Mo Sargi.
That's right.
And obviously not you, but no offense, but so basically I was working for Mo in Ottawa, and all this was kind of like building up. And I remember Andrew messaging us and being like, listen guys, because a lot of people had started canceling on the wedding like a week, 2 weeks before.
So this would have been a group of like 20-ish people. I think something like that, 20-ish people leaving Canada to go to Japan for Andrew's wedding. And this was, so the flight date, March 17th, and 2 weeks before that, people are messaging him canceling, saying, you know what? It's just too, I don't know what they were saying, too dangerous maybe, it's too risky, who knows.
I mean, nobody had any clue what the hell was even going on, right? We just knew people were getting really sick, and So we're kind of like, whatever. But I just remember Andrew, yeah, exactly like that. He was like, hey, if I understand if you guys can't make it, that's fine. I remember specifically telling him, I'm like, bruh, unless there's like a nuclear war and I'm dead, I will be at your wedding.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it.
That's
I
right.
I don't care, right?
Yeah.
So
nothing was gonna stop us from going to this wedding.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in the airport, March 17th. My parents were like, "Are you sure? Is this worth it?" And I said, Pokemon came from Japan. We're going. No.
yes.
So Japan is depending on what you grew up with, Japan is kind of where everything really good came from. All anime, a lot of video game stuff. So I've always had some type of love for Japan. Now the opportunity comes up that we're gonna go, and we're gonna go for one of our best friends' wedding.
Exactly. We had a reason, right?
Yeah,
So.
a very good reason. And they weren't totally sure what's going on with this coronavirus thing at the time. And we said, you know what? Once in a lifetime opportunity. So many of our friends are going. This is going to be the perfect trip. We just have to do it.
Yeah.
And we decided to do it. March 17th. We're getting to the airport. We're sitting there. So then I remember, I think Moose was the last one to get there, and we're all sitting there kind of like in the, whatever the word is, like the restaurant area.
Yeah.
And Prime Minister Trudeau, for those who don't know, the Prime Minister of Canada, the leader of Canada, comes on the TV and says, we are closing international borders to Canada.
Yeah.
You are not able to enter Canada after, I think, March 20th or something like that.
And I think we were kind of confused because we were like, so when we come home, how does this work? Like,
how are we going to get home? Are we going to be able to get back into Canada?
And then I thought about it, and I'm like, they can't close re-entry to Canadians.
If you're a Canadian
citizen, they cannot. It would be considered very unconstitutional. I mean, we don't have a constitutional, but it would be against our Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada to not let us back in. So I'm like, I'm not that concerned. And if we get, like, what better place to get stuck than Japan, right? So for me, I remember it was kind of a cluster fuck because I was living in Ottawa at the time and had everything booked. And what had happened, this was the craziest part. So I think it was about a week to 2 weeks before, I had just settled in. I had found a place, started working for Mo, and I was living in this lady's house. And I was renting a room. I think it was like $750 a month. It was great. Worked out pretty well. Whatever. Had my computer in there, bed obviously, and just my basic essentials. Bare basic essentials, right? So I had just moved in, and the lady knew that I was going to Japan. And she said, so before leaving, if you remember, I think they were already mentioning that when you come back, you have to do a quarantine or whatever.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
14 days.
Yeah, 14 days to stop the spread or whatever. Whatever they wanted to say. But so I remember telling her, I'm like, yeah, we're going to Japan. We're going for my friend's wedding, whatever. She got really scared at that point, like as this thing was starting to build up. And she goes, if you go there and you come back, I don't want you here for a month in my house.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, that's fine. I totally get it. I understand you're afraid and whatever. You don't want to get sick. That's fine. But I said, you can't expect me. First of all, when I come back, I have to do a 2-week quarantine. Second of all, you can't expect me to pay a full month's rent for essentially nothing when I've already done 2 weeks quarantine, when the government and the health people are already telling me that 2 weeks is enough. Now you're going to suddenly spin it around and make it a month, maybe a month and a half. I don't know. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm probably going to leave. I'm probably going to move out, not come back. And she actually was nice about it. She agreed. She's like, okay, no problem. Don't worry about it. I'll refund half your month back or whatever, because I had only really stayed there for like a couple of weeks. She was actually really nice about it, so which I'm glad.
Yeah.
I think her name was Shirley or something like that.
That's very lucky. You don't find that in a lot of landlords.
No. She was a really nice lady. But so there was that. So just as fast as I had moved in, I was packing my things and loaded up the car. the STI at the time, the broken ass car, which was I think still broken at the time. But I didn't know that. Well, I had fixed one problem, then there was another problem. It was just whatever, that car sucked.
It was a lemon.
Yeah, it was a bad lemon. But yeah, so I remember loading up the car, driving all the way back home, and then I checked the flight schedule. Canceled. Not both flights. So it was funny because I had to drive from Ottawa to Toronto and then go to the Toronto airport, fly from Toronto back out east, which is past Ottawa, and then from there, I think from Montreal was my connecting flight into Tokyo. And I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. Now what do I do? Then I checked the prices for the direct flights, the ones that you guys were on.
So I had booked, I had booked with, I think it was Air Canada.
It was Air Canada, yeah.
I booked direct flights. A friend of ours actually a friend of mine worked with Air Canada, so he had deals. So he gave us a bunch of discounts, and we booked direct flights from here to Japan, and there was still space on our flight. I wonder why. Maybe because people were canceling.
Probably, yeah. So yeah, at the very last second, I think it was like a day before, I managed to book.
Yes, that's right.
On the exact same flight, and then it worked out because the flight was actually cheaper.
Yeah, yours was cheaper than ours. I was very upset about
which
that.
It kind of made sense because
Yeah.
everybody was canceling at the very last second, right? So there was that, and then we ended up going, and then I think it was a day to 2 days later, I remember our family from here calling us and being like, oh, we're in lockdown. And I'm like, what the heck is a lockdown? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense to me, right? We're locking down. I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? I'm like, are you still going to work? Are you just staying home? Are you doing? They're like, no, they're keeping all the grocery stores open and all the essential stuff open. They're just closing like certain things and forcing those people to stay home. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Sounds interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
But in Japan, let me tell you, nothing was closed. The only thing that was closed, I think, were the museums.
Exactly. Just the like public, things like museums and things like you wouldn't find like a amusement park open, that kind of thing. That stuff was closed. But virtually everything else that we wanted to do was there, available and open.
I mean, apart from like a couple of the museums that I would have been interested in doing, I don't really think that we missed out on much of anything, because I mean, all the restaurants were open.
Everything. Nearly everything. There was nothing that I felt that we missed out on because COVID. Nothing. I don't think anything. Actually, it was kind of better in a way because there was a lot less tourism. There was a lot less people. Like we were going to, I don't know if we were in Kyoto or Osaka or something, and we were climbing that mountain. Do you remember
the temple,
the Torii gates, the orange gates, and people are saying there would usually be thousands more people here on this mountain. And we got very lucky. We got to see a lot of really great sights, a lot of beautiful, beautiful scenery. And I was, you know what? It was the absolute trip of a lifetime. And that couldn't have been more perfect, unless my wife came. I would really like that, but she had to work, unfortunately. So, it was an incredible trip. I was really I felt very, very lucky, very blessed.
Dude, even like the actual wedding itself was amazing because it was very traditional for the most part. Like the way they were both dressed up in the kimono and the traditional garb. We got to go into the temple, the actual like temple, which most of the time tourists are not allowed into unless it's a special event or occasion or whatever. And we were very fortunate. We're like, wow, this is cool. Right? And I know Mo loved all the Pokemon stores.
Oh my man. Oh man. Okay. So we were planning in the months prior and I was like, okay, so they're in Japan, the stores opened by the Pokemon company are called Pokemon Centers, because that's a location in the Pokemon games. So I wanted to see the Pokemon Centers. And I don't think anybody realized that I wanted to see every single Pokemon Center. But we had gone to.
Did you do all of them?
No. So it was about, we were there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks plus 2 days or something like that. And in that travel time, I think we had hit 5 different Pokemon Center stores, which were one per city.
Yeah.
There, and I think we did 3 probably in Tokyo
alone. Yeah.
Right.
That was
Tokyo's
all the ones in Tokyo?
No. There were some that we didn't do. I guess at the third one, it was kind of like, these are all the same for the most part. Like there was kind of exclusive. You could get exclusive stuffed Pikachus with different designs and stuff depending on the store you're in. But for the most part, everything was virtually the same. So by the 4th or 5th one, I think it was, this is cool. I don't think we need to do any more of them. But we did at least 3 or 4. Or 5
Takes a toll on your credit card at the end of the day, right?
It was absolutely worth it.
Yeah. What else? I'm trying to remember. Like, what other crazy things we did? So. So it's funny though, because when everybody here was already in this lockdown thing, and I just remember we were constantly looking on Twitter, at like the Canada, I don't remember what it was, travel advisory Twitter, whatever it was. I don't even remember anymore. But I just remember constantly seeing videos from Trudeau, and he's like, please come home, because you know the way he talks, he says like every second word. There you go. So I just remember that, and I'm like, nah, we'll just stay, whatever. But yeah, we got there, we're just kind of like doing our thing. We got settled into the first Airbnb, and
what's important to realize is that yes, we were seeing all this stuff from back home. My parents or my mom is saying, work is closed, there's no flights going on, so she works in flowers, so there's no flowers coming into Canada, so there's no reason for us to go to work. And all kinds of places. So my job, if I'm not mistaken, they were still open the whole time, but that place sucked, so I didn't care to go back. But
didn't miss out on much, right?
I'm joking. No. It was just, that's the thing, is that if you weren't deemed essential somehow, it was closed. So there was not a whole lot of people were staying inside their homes. If you remember the beginning of it, everyone was staying home. There wasn't much going on. There wasn't traffic on the roads. So it's kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, but it was kind of dystopic. The vibe 100%. Here.
100%.
Yeah.
It was like the end of the freaking world.
Everybody was staying in their homes. Everybody was scared, which is rightfully so. No one understood what was going on. And who was enjoying themselves? Only us in Japan.
Of course.
Nobody else.
We were literally roaming around every day. And it was crazy too, because it's like, okay, so it was less busy. Because a lot of people were, kind of trying to stay home or whatever, I guess, avoid going out, whoever wanted to stay home. But other people who just continued to go on about their day, went to work. I think kids were home for like maybe, what was it, like 2-3 weeks, and then they went back to school or whatever pretty much right afterwards. And things were just more or less normal, just less busy, and people wore masks. That's basically what I remember.
And with the mask, when we were in Japan, that was, I don't know, it's kind of like the what's the word, the typical Asian areas, you would find people wearing masks forever before COVID. They would wear them when they were sick because they didn't want to spread.
It was a sign of respect.
It was respect. They respected the people around them, and so they were wearing masks for that reason. In Japan, when we were in Japan during COVID, which was, the weeks of March 20th to like, I think beginning of April.
Yeah, I think it was like just right at the end of March. I remember they canceled our flight.
That's right.
We were either leaving, what was it, the 30th? I think it would have maybe been the 30th or the 31st. And we found out at the last second that it wasn't even really the last. It was like a week before, because I think we were still in Kyoto. Because I remember you sitting on the phone for like, what was it, 2.5 hours.
You know what? It was that. I remember it was at our first Airbnb because
I don't think so. I think it was the second.
So it was because so the wedding was March 20th, so the night of March 20th, and we were getting messages either that day or the day before, or maybe the day after, because I had to wake up 2 guys in the upstairs room who were sleeping because I got the message that all of our flights had been canceled, because I booked almost everybody's flight.
Yeah,
I'm like, dudes, wake up, because everyone was who was drinking at the wedding. And everybody was drunk. We had to leave the Airbnb by like 11 a.m., but it was like 8 a.m. or something. And I'm waking everybody up saying, hey, our flights were just canceled. I don't know how we're going to get out of...
I mean...
As if, because, you know, it was scary. It was like, oh, God, what are we going to do? Are we stuck in Japan? In that moment, it was, okay, kind of a little panic going on. But if you were looking around the things we were doing in Japan, the people around us, people weren't worried.
Yeah.
Everything was there.
They didn't look terrified, right? Yeah. And then... Yeah, I just remember coming home. It was just weird. Like coming through the airport was just very strange. It was just, like you said, very dystopic, right? It was just like we came off the plane.
Oh, Vancouver, was it?
I think it was Vancouver. We came off the plane and I've never seen this before. It was the weirdest thing. It was all of the border security.
CBSA, I think.
The CBSA. And do you remember they were all standing in a row?
So we're coming down we're walking down the, I don't know what the word is, the gate or the alley, the tunnel coming out off the plane, and they're kind of 4 or 5 of them standing there, kind of like all staring at all these people walking in off the plane, being like, "Are you guys okay? Are you feeling good? Does anybody have a fever?" Staring at us, not like stopping us, not in like a row, not like we're not lining up. We're just walking with our bags rolling with us, just like. Yeah, we're good. We just walked right by them. Like, there was no, I mean, it was new to everybody. Yeah, so
it was like, but coming back from Japan to Canada at that time, night and day.
Huge
completely different. Like I said, it was less busy, but when we went to Shibuya Crossing, you didn't notice the difference, right? It was hectic and crazy, and restaurants were packed, bars were packed. Everybody, for the most part, they were being a little more cautious. People wore masks. They wore voluntarily, of course. It wasn't a mandatory thing like it was here. People washed their hands. They were, trying to keep up with sanitary conditions, stuff like that, but it was completely different, not even close to what everybody experienced here. And I'm gonna say we were pretty fortunate to be there, at least that we got those 2 weeks or whatever it was. But yeah, what else did we experience there? I mean, we saw a lot of stuff. We tried a lot of different food.
Oh man. Okay, so there are 2 videos on my YouTube channel. I'm just gonna plug that right in. 2 Japan videos on my YouTube channel, Moshi. The coolest thing, okay, so I had never been a person who had eaten a lot of fish before, or like any really before, but of course you're in Japan,
you have to,
you're gonna have sushi.
Have to.
We did it. I did it. So we went to the very first one. I think it was the first,
probably the stand-up.
Exactly. So it was the day after we had landed, I think. Because so the first night we got there off the airplane, it was probably after 10 p.m.
Because a bunch of people got there before we did.
A few people started our Airbnb before us,
right? Yeah. And then we're like, okay, do you guys know all the good places? Because I think there was one guy. He went. This is crazy. He was part of our group of friends. Yeah. He went there, I think, almost a month before everybody else got there, and he was basically working to live.
You're right.
He was working for this family, like somewhere kind of like in some random village close to the mountains or whatever. On a farm. Yeah. And he was helping their family run their farm business, I guess.
Right.
And they were giving him room and board for free. And then I think Dano got there after him.
Yeah,
like
or
2
maybe
weeks.
Dano had got there and he was just doing the tourist thing. He was
had
just
seeing as much as he possibly could at the end of the day. Smart guy. So so he got there, and then when we landed, like you said, the day after, we're like, yo, you know any good food places? Like, I know all the good spots now. I've been here for like 2 weeks, right?
This
you guys
was like 10 or 11 p.m. or something. We were like, we just dropped our bags
at the curry
Airbnb.
Place?
Exactly. We went to the curry place. I don't remember the name of it.
It was so good.
It was actually.
I don't remember the names of anything that we ate over there, but it was all like I think there was only one experience where we actually had a bad meal. I think that was the only time. Remember the Italian place?
Oh yeah, that was not nice.
I felt so bad about that.
It was such a small place, and the guy was alone. He did everything.
He was so nice. And
nice guy.
I just felt so bad. We were all in a hurry. Okay, so what happened was we were all looking for a place to eat. We found this Italian place. We're like, whatever, let's do it. Everybody likes Italian. And we go in, and there's this one, I wouldn't really call him elderly, but he was older. He wasn't like middle-aged. He was definitely older. And it was like on the second floor, this small little tiny hole in the wall, as most of these tiny Japanese restaurants are. And he was, so we all ordered, and we ordered like some of us ordered pasta, some people pizzas, whatever. And we were all in a hurry. I don't remember. Oh, it was it would have been the bachelor party,
Andrew's
the
bachelor
night
party.
of the bachelor party. So we were all in a hurry, and this guy is taking forever. Like, but we were like 8 people or something like that, maybe 6. I don't remember, something like that. This guy took literally an hour, maybe longer, to make every single dish, and he finally did it. And I'm not even kidding. The pizzas were literally like
was
that
tiny.
small.
Oh man.
Oh my god. But yeah, that was, I think I'd have to say that was probably the only food that was nothing
right.
It was not good. No,
so our first it was our first, the first day, and the first experience doing sushi. Dan was like, I know the place, it's close by, we're gonna go. And it was a standing sushi bar. I have a video on my YouTube channel of that standing sushi bar where I had the first piece of salmon I've ever finished in my life, and it was incredible.
It was the salmon with they put the
braised
cheese,
they put the
right?
mayonnaise
and they
mayonnaise on it, and they braise it.
It's called the salamander. That's what the actual flame is called. It's like, as if you would remember the propane tanks we used to use on our cars back in the day. It's kind of like something like that. Oh man, that place was good. I have a video too.
Check it out and explore with Angelo.
We can check it out right now if we want to get a glimpse at it.
Oh, put it up. Hey, you had it ready?
On. I got it ready. I just got to figure out how to switch the scenes. There we go.
Here we go.
There we go, guys. Okay, so we're learning here how to do this. Ooh, look at that. So that's the standing sushi place. Ooh, got some music here. I promise I won't copyright my own podcast. So yeah, so this was I think this was the first day.
The first day after landing.
Alright guys, welcome back to a brand new video.
This is the airport.
Airport. We're heading to Tokyo for our wedding.
Look who it is.
My original flight got canceled, and I was lucky enough to be able to rebook, and this time I'm actually not flying alone. Originally I was supposed to fly alone, but I'm with a couple friends. We got Mo, we got Shad, I think you can see him. Rifle Auto Sports. Yeah, don't forget. Yeah, we're just gonna order some food, hang out for a few hours, and then we got a 13.5-hour flight? That's right. Something like that. Alright, this is legit like the quietest I've ever seen the airport.
Yeah, dude, it's...
Well, guys,
oh my god, I was wearing gloves.
Really
I was wearing gloves in the airport.
so went and grabbed some. We got another person sitting at our table. I don't know who this person is, though. I'm not 100% sure. State your name.
It's like, I don't get it. Are you saying a joke? It was. I think it was pretty early though. No, I don't even remember what time we left. Everything's a blur.
I don't know.
It's all a blur.
But we'll see you guys when I get there. I'm not 100% sure if this is our plane, but we should be boarding in like 10 to 15 minutes.
I think it's this.
This is the curry place.
Curry House.
Oh, okay. Well, there's
Come
the
all
name.
the way to Tokyo to
Curry
eat Indian
House.
food.
Never would have guessed.
Dude, this is a cool setup though. I like this. Just like this whole like long table thing that we got going on here. It's pretty cool.
First mask in the video.
Oh, there you go.
Around my neck.
Chicken cutlet with
That was good. Do you remember that? Oh, this is like a throwback. Damn.
Oh man, I had to train for weeks how to use chopsticks,
Oh man.
and I was still not good.
Yeah, I'm not very good either. So.
Don't know, that's like their mayonnaise sauce, that's like a secret sauce.
Oh, everybody likes secret sauce. But yeah, and then we went to the Airbnb,
you're telling me it only takes you
we
30
were on.
Okay, so that machine you saw right there, right in front of me, that was a washer
Oh, yeah, I
and
remember that.
dryer in one. You put
Yeah.
your clothes in, it gets washed, and then it gets dried. It did not dry very well though.
No, they were essentially useless unless you had only one shirt and one pants that were relatively thin. I would probably say at the end of your washing, your stuff probably was not dry.
That's
ever.
right. No,
Ever.
you're used to, like we are used to here in North America, very large washers and dryers that do a very good job of drying everything. We did not have that in Japan, not at all.
Nope. Yeah, I think that's the one thing that we're fortunate of, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else about Japan that you remember that was like just stood out? I remember like
Everybody. Okay, so I think the one thing that I loved about Japan the most was the people. So everybody is so kind, helpful, generous. I don't know. I just feel like this is the way society should be.
Oh yeah, of course. It was just like, it's just common there that everybody just is super respectful.
Yes.
And very animated.
Oh.
Yes.
Ah.
All Japanese people, especially Japanese women, are extremely animated. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're the way they express themselves. Oh.
Yeah,
Do you remember? Okay. I don't know if you remember this, but so our friend Andrew, the one that we went to the wedding for, I think before this he had lived there with his...
Yeah, he was there, I think, a year-ish or less before that. So, like, not the year leading up to the trip. It was maybe a year before that year.
Yeah. But I remember when he came home, he was talking about how everyone in Japan does that type of thing with like the diaphragm, right? And he's like, even I started doing it after living there only for a few months. I started like doing the exact same thing that they do. And then out of the conversation, I started noticing that he was actually doing it. And it was hilarious because I was noticing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Japan is sick. Definitely got to go back.
Oh, man. The cars in Japan?
Oh, dude.
Okay, so I think it was the first day. I think it was the first. Okay, so we had arrived on, I'm pretty sure it was the 18th, 17th or 18th of March. Wedding was on the 20th. So we just had a couple days to kill in Tokyo to, get over the jet lag, which actually I did not get jet lagged.
Really?
No. So it was very nice. We're just walking around, seeing everything that we wanted to see, including the cars. And oh man, if you're into cars, if you grew up with us with the Fast and Furious generation,
oh my God,
with the
it was
initial D generation, bro.
It was like straight out of like Tokyo Drift or something. That was the thing. It was like it was just amazing.
My
like
absolute dream car. We saw it
RX-7.
multiple times.
RX-7.
We saw it on the first day. The Mazda
every
RX-7.
day. Every day.
Yeah.
You would see one literally every day.
This is
here,
the thing, man.
Here, it's like some people do own them. We have one friend who's got, what does Cross have? Like
An
86?
FC. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Or something like that. 1986 or 87, something like that. And the
Right.
thing is a beast. But you rarely see them here.
Oh,
And
incredibly rare. Yeah.
Same thing with Skylines. Like R33,
Yes.
R34s are very, very rare here.
Here now, they're only starting to get imported here now, Skylines specifically. But yeah, over there, they know what they have over there.
Oh, yeah.
They know they've got the cars over there. It's
Dude,
really cool.
Do you remember we went to the Rotary shop?
That was the last day.
That was the very last day.
I remember.
Our friend Shad, who is way more into cars than we are, like actually obsessed with them.
That's right.
Unhealthily. Healthily and unhealthily at the same time. But he was like, yo, we got to go to the famous Rotary shop. And Rotaries are the type of engine that they would put in Mazdas back in the day, which was
RX-7,
made the
that's right.
RX-7 super famous.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, we're game. And our friend's new wife at the time, her parents decided they wanted to take us out that day.
Yeah.
So they were like, yeah, whatever you guys want to do. We got the van. And I remember, do you remember it snowed that morning?
It did snow.
Right? In like...
We had gotten to one of the stores. We had gotten to one of the car stores. I think that day, everything was about cars.
Yeah.
Everything was
everything.
So
we stopped at like at least 3 or 4 places.
Yeah, Rika's dad was driving us in his van, and we got to one of the stores, and it started snowing. And he's like, okay, don't worry. And he starts putting on chains on the tires in the parking lot to get us through the snow.
I remember that. Oh my God.
It was April.
But it was amazing though. Like that, we went to the Rotary shop, and they had all the RX-7s, that yellow one that they had in there. Oof, oh my God. It was amazing.
Plugging myself again, but if you check on moshi.io on Instagram, there may or may not be pictures of Pan Speed, which is the name of the store.
Ah, that's what it was. Oh
Yeah.
man, I'm glad somebody remembers the name of that
Speed.
place.
Pun Speed. And pun in Japanese is bread.
Yeah, it's like the most famous RX-7 place in the world. What else did we do? We did a lot of. We did. Oh, the conveyor sushi. Oh my God.
We did it a couple times.
That
It was
was
so cool.
the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So if you're like, really hungry, but you're in a hurry, and you're in Tokyo and you want sushi, you go to a conveyor sushi because they basically do this thing where they pre-make the sushi and it's literally just spinning in front of you. If you want something specific and it's not already pre-made, you can tell them that you want it and they'll pre-make it. And the coolest part, do you remember the coolest part at the end? The fancy trick.
Which one?
Do you remember?
Oh, the trays?
The trays.
Yeah.
Oh, so they have this thing. It's the coolest technology ever. So instead of counting everything, what they do is you keep all your plates and they stack them right in front of you.
So you get a plate per piece of sushi you order. So like you may order. I would have ordered like a shrimp, a salmon, an egg, and then by the end of your meal, I have whatever I ordered in front of me, and that's how they did it.
Yeah, and then basically at the end, they would take their scanner thingy, and it would literally. I don't know how the hell it did it.
No barcodes. It's reading somehow. It's not scanning anything. It's just like it literally it's a Harry Potter wand and it just goes beside the plates up and down 2 or 3 times and it counts. There's probably a chip in the plate.
Probably.
And it counts and says, "Oh, this is how much this thing is. This is how much this thing is." It takes them 4 seconds and they tell you your bill is this many yen.
Yeah, and then you give them some money and you go about your day, and that was pretty much it. What else is cool? The capsule. There's so much to talk about.
The capsule.
Dude, we could literally
hotel.
sit here for like hours and just the capsule hotels. Like I think it was
cool.
like what, $30 a night or something like that.
Super cheap.
Right?
Super
Disgustingly cheap. Even the Airbnbs were not too bad.
Right.
They were nice houses.
Yes.
A lot of space, a lot of beds.
Yep.
Yeah, but the capsule hotels were really cool. And what a capsule hotel is, oh man, how would you describe a capsule hotel? Sort of like a hostel.
Think of
I would say. Almost
but
exactly
much nicer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, compared to like North American hostels, anyways. North American hostels will, kill you. You might be missing a kidney at the end of the day, depending on where you go. But Japanese capsule hotels, they're basically like a little tiny. I don't even know. Like maybe imagine this table.
Yeah.
The size of the table is almost the size of the room, right? If you pay for an upgrade, you'll actually get the whole space that we're in right now, like from that side all the way to this wall. That's pretty much it for like $50 a night.
And there's a wall. Okay, so if this is the entire width of your room, there's a wall of these where your room is on top of another guy's room.
Yeah.
And it's just literally from floor to ceiling, there's 2 or 3 stacks, and then there's multiple going this way. And it's literally like a pod. You're in a pod.
Yep.
You're sleeping in this pod, doing everything in this pod. You get out to use a public washroom, and it's super cheap, super cool.
Amazing.
I did the upgrade because I held everybody's suitcases.
Too. I think we were the only 2 that decided to do it.
Yeah, I had 2 suitcases with me because I bought a lot of stuff from the Pokemon centers, but that was a mistake. I would never do that again.
Yeah, no. Traveling around Tokyo, that was the one thing though. Getting around Tokyo was easy, but if you're a tourist and you got luggage and stuff, really annoying. Do you remember my luggage broke?
Yeah, I do.
So I bought this rope because we went to the...
was it the wheel that broke or the handle that broke or something?
It was the handle, I think. Yeah, I think it was the handle. No, the wheel was Dano's wheel broke. For me, it was the stupid handle. The metal literally snapped in half. I think it was my fault because I was putting like my duffel bag like on the top, basically where the handle was, and it was kind of it was just too much weight. So what I did was when I went to the forest, I had bought a big like 100-foot rope, because when you go to the haunted forest in Japan, which we'll probably talk about in another episode, but when I went to the haunted forest in Japan, what you're supposed to do is bring a really long rope or ribbon. What I wanted to buy was ribbon, because what you do is when you're going into the forest, because it's super dense, if you go into this forest without marking your way in to come back out, you will probably get lost and you will probably die in there. Like, no joke. This place is not a joke. So what I did was I bought like 150-foot rope, whatever it was, and we basically tied it. It was me and Dano, because we were the only ones brave enough to do it. We tied it against a tree and went as far in as this rope would go. And the craziest part is that when we were in there, the rest of the group were all standing on the trail, maybe 120 feet from us. You could not hear them. They were talking and laughing and whatever. Dano and I could not hear them for the life of us. We were just standing in there, and it was dead freaking silence. So anyways, that's the reason why I bought this rope. And basically after the stupid luggage handle broke, I had to tie the stupid rope all the way around it and then leave like one long piece so I could pull it kind of going down the road. And it was just really awkward as hell, but it worked. Whatever. It got me back to Canada eventually.
Through our challenges in Japan, which were not many.
No.
It was an incredible trip.
No.
That was an amazing trip.
Oh man, the places there's so much that we did. And remember the arcades, the 8th floor arcades, right? The what is it called? The Plinko places? Pachinko. That's it. I want to call it Plinko. I think that's
Price is Right.
Price is Right is Plinko, so it's not the same thing. But it was like their version of a slot machine, kind of, essentially. You guys have to look it up. It's
many
wild.
different versions and ways of different types of playing games. That's their thing, is pachinko machines, where you go in, like you said, it's slot machines or all kinds of electric. Remember, we were trying to go into the department store Don Quixote.
Oh my god, that place was confusing as all hell.
We walked into the door we thought was Don Quixote, and it was slots everywhere. Pachinko machines everywhere. No, people sitting there.
The department store, I think, was above it.
That's right.
That's what we didn't realize. Exactly.
Right?
So we walked in. We're like, "What the hell is going on over here?
What kind of grocery store is this?"
But yeah, what was it called? Don Quixote.
Yes.
That was where I was trying to find ribbon. It's weird because out of 8 or 9 floors of this store that literally had everything you can possibly think of, they didn't have any ribbon. I don't know why. Ribbon is just unheard of.
They had an entire floor of different types of Kit Kats, but
yeah, for real.
all the snacks, man.
The Kit Kats and those what are those sticks?
Pocky. The Pocky sticks. That's right.
Damn.
But
yeah, Japan is sick. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for anything else. Not really.
No. That covers our introduction.
I think that's pretty much. I mean, we were gonna mention something about the scammers.
The scammers.
Oh,
right before this, I was like, "Hey, man, make sure you follow me on Twitter with the new podcast Twitter, which is Brave Podcast 00." So then you went, you're like, "Oh, is it even following me?" And you check Ange Bona TV, and then there's 2 Ange Bona TVs, where the second one is Ange Bona TV 13.
They do that, man. It's these guys are ruthless. They do not give up. The saddest part is that no matter how many times, like, Twitter is not so bad. If they get reported enough times on Twitter, and this happens to me on YouTube too, and I freaking hate it. This is why I have to remember to mention it every so often, because a lot of people are not aware of what's going on. Is these people are pretending to be me. They do it to a lot of other YouTubers as well. But they'll do it to me, and what they'll do is they'll reply to the viewers, the people who comment sometimes on YouTube, and they'll set up BS YouTube channels, like basically with the same name, Exploring with Angelo, whatever. Message me on Telegram. I don't even use Telegram, right? I don't got time to use Telegram. I'm busy, right? So if somebody's messaging you and they're claiming they're me or Moshio or any other YouTube, and they're telling you to directly message them on Telegram, they're probably full of shit. But yeah, what they do a lot of times is they'll make fake accounts on Instagram, Twitter. Excuse me.
Just before this, after the Twitter, I was like, "Oh, is the Instagram following me?" And I go and I look at yours, and there's 4 different Ange Bona TV Instagrams.
What else is new?
Yeah, there's only one. He's sitting here across the table from me. Okay.
Yeah, so if there's an extra V, it's not me. That guy's been around for a long time. I actually got a funny story about that guy. And so basically, I remember I was dating this girl in Barrie, and I was on the way up there, and this guy was just constantly nonstop messaging me. And
from that account,
because I had started messaging him, so he was always messaging me back, and he was basically trying to like bribe me. And he's like, "Listen, I'll stop whatever, as long as you give me $200. I said, "Okay, no problem." But I'll think about it. I'm not going to just straight up give you $200. I'll think about it. But you got to do something for me. You got to tell me in a voice message how much you love me and how you want to cover me in maple syrup. And you're going to come here to Canada and lick it off.
No.
I did it. He actually did it. He sent me a voice note, and you could tell he was like probably from Nigeria or something, because majority of them are for some odd
scammers,
reason. Yeah. I mean, if you talk to Day, which we'll eventually when he's in Toronto, we'll probably have on the show because he does this stuff constantly. But yeah, he sent the voice note. I'm pretty sure I have a screen recording, and I sent it to my friend Jazz a while ago.
Yeah.
So I have to look for it. If I find it, I'll
Find it.
share
You got to
with
put it
you.
up on the
Oh my
podcast
God.
Instagram.
Oh my God, it was like one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Just the fact that he actually did it. But yeah,
It's so good.
if you see these guys, don't fall for them because they're usually pretty full of poop. Is somebody like saying something?
I heard someone say, you.
What the hell? Like
It's
next
hard
door?
I think, yeah, well, it's hard to hear outside of these headphones. So it must
Yeah,
have been really
for real.
loud.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys can hear that, but there's somebody talking. That's really weird. But okay. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for our first podcast. Wow, we actually went. I think we almost went for like an
We're at
hour.
runtime 1 hour 25 minutes.
Oh,
Bottom right.
nice.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Not
Yeah,
too
it's
bad
pretty
for a
good
first
for a
try. We
beginning,
didn't
eh?
even stop once. So
Yeah.
now all of a sudden we're getting some person saying weird noises. Can you hear them?
No. I heard that one.
Yeah, that was it, right? Okay. Well, that was weird, but yeah, that's pretty much it for our first podcast. Not too bad, I'd say, for a bunch of noobs
Yeah.
that don't really know what the hell we're doing. We're just learning.
Yeah. Yeah, man. We gotta do a video for the studio. We gotta
Yes.
take a walk around and let them see what the whole
Yes.
studio looks
Well,
like.
what I think is we need to finish it first. So we
The other
put
side, yeah.
majority of the effort on this side, as you guys can see from the wide angle. I'd say we did a pretty decent job, right? For
Yeah, it
somebody
looks
who's
nice.
never done wallpaper before, which I'm literally never doing ever again because wallpaper is annoying, and that's
Yep.
the pre-adhesive stuff.
Imagine
Right.
it didn't have the adhesive on it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think I would have killed somebody. But yeah, so we did focus on this side. And what I kind of want to do, my idea, probably the next couple of months, just haven't had a chance to do it yet. Probably going to go to IKEA and pick up a couch.
Yes.
Buy another TV, probably exactly like this one, because this one's sick.
Yeah,
And we're going to basically set up the other side so that way when our guests come, because obviously they'll probably come a little bit early, and they can hang out, you know?
Yeah.
Chill out, talk on the couch. We don't always have to be in this space, but although this space is pretty cool, I'd say. Yeah, there's still more to do, as there always is more to do. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the first one. I think the next one we'll probably have a guest. If not, we'll just, ramble for another 2 hours next time.
Keep chatting.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, go and follow us on the social medias for this. And, of course, follow our private YouTube channel. Well, not private, but our personal YouTube channels.
Yeah.
I'm exploring with Angelo, and he is.
Moshi Yo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you check out my Instagram, it's Moshi, MOSHI.yo.
Yeah, you gotta mention that because
I know it's
that might
hard.
be a little confusing.
I
So
know.
even like when you look him up on YouTube, it's MOSHI.
comma.
Period. Is it comma?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's what confuses me.
Yeah.
I always think it's a period, but it's a freaking comma.
Yeah,
so,
depending on this. I know, and I gotta figure out.
boy.
I gotta change it.
Yeah,
I gotta figure it out.
it's just a little bit. It's hard to find. That's the problem.
Look for this
but-
face.
Yeah. So that's where we're gonna leave off this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Hey, thank you for watching.
Right? Oh my
Yeah.
God, this is fun.
This was cool. This
Right?
is so easy.
Dude,
I shouldn't
yeah.
say that. I shouldn't say that.
Why?
It was just so natural and so easy to
It
just
is
talk to
easy.
you.
That's why we're co-hosts, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Yeah, smash that like button if you're new here. Subscribe. Turn those post notifications on, and yeah, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about the first podcast, and if there's a specific topic maybe you guys want us to talk about, we will definitely consider them. Just leave those in the comments as well, and we'll go through them and see what's next. All right. Bye bye.